Hello students, I am Dr. P.C. Cambodia, Associate Professor in the Department of English, BSR Government Arts College, Alwar, Rajasthan. This video is for the regular students of BSR Government Arts College, Alwar. This video is related with the first paper of MA English Final, that is literary theories or the principles of criticism. The principles of criticism means the guidelines to evaluate literature. Criticism is not finding fault always. It is a process of accounting merits and demerits of a piece of writing. Literature is being produced in bulk in various genres: poetry, prose, fiction, and short stories. Now, who will let us know about the quality of literature? Whether literature is to be studied or whether it is not to be studied, and what is the ranking of literature. It is the duty of critics. And how critics can evaluate literature? They need the guidelines or yardsticks. Those guidelines or yardsticks are known as principles. These principles or guidelines in arts are not as fine as they are in science. These principles of literary criticism are based on objectivity, not on subjectivity. If a particular poem is given to a reader and he is asked about the quality of the poem, about the imagery of the poem, about the content of the poem, or about the vocabulary of the poem, and he says that the poem is below average in each and every standard, whatever he has been asked for, and when the same poem is given to another 50 persons separately, and their responses are taken into account, and say 45, 46 say that poem is an absolute piece and it is appealing, it has fine quality, its vocabulary is fine, then those persons who are in a group, their consideration will be taken into account because it is based on objectivity. These principles are based on objectivity, not on subjectivity. So, the first critic that we take into consideration is the great teacher Aristotle. He was born in 384 BC at Stavro in Macedonia. So he is a Greek. And if we account the number of the years, then it is around 404 years before. Aristotle composed his poetics in Greek language, and we shall be reading his translations. Now, several translations are available for Aristotle's poetics. 8 lectures in criticism is one of them. It has been translated by Humphrey House, and the publisher is Kalyani Publishers, New Delhi. Yet another translation is by Malcolm Heath. It is published by Penguin Books. There is another translation by Penguin Books. It is by T.S. Dodge and its title is Classical Literary Criticism. Then Butcher's detailed commentary is also available for poetics. Bywater's translation is also there, and there are several other translations. The disadvantage is that while reading Aristotle's poetics, we are not in direct touch with Aristotle. We are in touch with through the translators. These translators do differ considerably because while translating, either a translator adds something from his own side or he misses the important informations unknowingly. There are another issues while reading the translations. Say for example, some of the terms have been interpreted differently, and even the original script in Greek language which Aristotle wrote himself are either mutilated or they have been lost. But whatever is available through translations, we shall try to see. The works of Aristotle can be divided into three categories. His constitutional writings are there, his essays are there, and his treatises are also there. Treatises are the writings on one particular topic and they are slightly lengthy. Poetics is the outcome of Aristotle's joining an academy which was run by Plato. Aristotle joined this academy when he was 20 years old, and he heard the eloquences, the speeches of his teacher Plato. Plato discusses the concept of imitation in 10th book of his Republic. He says that imitation takes a person away from reality, but Aristotle refutes Plato's observation on imitation, and Aristotle says that the process of imitation brings us closer to reality. Now, this opinion, whether a translation or imitation takes us close to reality or away from reality, depends how this imitation is done. It is the question of excellence. If the imitation is not done excellently, then we shall be reminded of the difference between the original and the imitated piece. If imitation is fine, quite efficient, then we shall not be reminded of the difference between the original and the copied or imitated. So, it depends upon the craft of an imitator. Aristotle says that poetry is close to music. But before that, his teacher Plato had said that poetry is close to painting. Poetry can also be imitated. This is also a fine arts. There are other fine arts. Say for example, painting is one of them. All forms of art, they have the basic concept of imitation. And in imitation, we need the object of imitation, the medium of imitation, and manner or the mode of imitation. For Aristotle, man in action better than average is the source of imitation in order to create a tragedy. And man in action, which is less than average, is the object of imitation if we want to create a comedy. Aristotle talks about man in action either better than average or worse than average, but he does not touch man in action as average, because our society is full of human beings who are average. So Aristotle pays attention to the production of comedies and tragedies. Aristotle then further talks about manner and medium. If we want to copy or imitate painting, then we should have color, brush, and some scene in front of us. With the help of color, brush, we can copy. So medium in form of color and brush are there. Similarly, if we want to copy poetry, then we need medium. Words, phrases, they are there as medium. Then manner is required, mode. That is also important for the theory of imitation. Then he further talks about the concepts of plots that we shall be taking up in our next class. Thank you so much.